I wasn't a big fan of trading for Chris Paul, but now I kind of want to. Russell Westbrook, no. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Clutch People. I hope you guys are having an amazing day or night, as there's some speculation going on that the New York Knicks are interested in trading for Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston. James Harden's not happy with what's going on, PJ Tucker, so that team's literally being exploded. Because it's funny, I was literally having a conversation with MH, who's a big-time Knicks fan, from New York. I was like, you know what team that should just blow it all up? It's a random thought, but why not? And I said this a few weeks ago, the Houston Rockets, and potentially that may happen, of Russ Westbrook being gone and James Harden. But I really do believe they are a team that needs to start all over, start from scratch, build throughout the draft. And of course, they ended up trading for Russell Westbrook. Harden, they ended up getting a while ago from the Oklahoma City Thunder in a deal. I'll never forget, a lot of people were like, Kevin Martin, what a steal. He's going to freaking thrive with them. Kevin Martin was solid at one point in his career. He had a very odd looking jumper. It wasn't as weird as Lonzo's, but it was like pretty weird looking, but it was really fast. And he was actually a consistent shooter from beyond the arc. But the Knicks are interested in Russell Westbrook, and I love Russell Westbrook. The intensity he plays with, I just don't think he's a guy that's going to win an NBA championship. But when you're the New York Knicks, your expectations shouldn't be winning an NBA championship, because we haven't won one since 1970 and 73. So that's really not the expectation whatsoever when it comes to getting Russell Westbrook. It just makes no sense, in my opinion, if you get Russell Westbrook, because there's no other developed star on this team. RJ Barrett, we could say he's going to be a future All-Star, but he hasn't proven it yet. Mitchell Robinson, you could talk about how he's going to be an all-star, but he's not an all-star yet. He is someone that's really talented, freak athlete, he's a rim runner, could block shots, guard outside on the perimeter, but he hasn't proven to stay out of foul trouble yet. There's no second star, so bringing in Russell Westbrook, what will that do except rush the process and not draft a point guard? I would way rather draft a point guard. If it's not in this draft, the draft next year, which is supposed to be a way better draft. I'm not saying we're going to come away with a Cade Cunningham, but maybe we could just draft a point guard in this draft. We're going to get a younger guy that fits the timeline with RJ, with Mitchell Robinson, and maybe get someone that's less ball dominant. Chris Paul made sense. You bring in Chris Paul, his contract's almost done. He's a winner. He's a good leader. He's a guy that's not going to be ball dominant, take the ball out of RJ's hands. Could you imagine the pick and roll of Mitchell Robinson? And he's a guy that's probably going to help out the young point guard if we draft a young point guard, or we draft one next year. Russell Westbrook hasn't been known as this guy that's like a big-time leader, a guy that he's a good playmaker, but he's a guy that's very ball dominant. He's a guy that's going to bring you to the playoffs, but he's not going to win you an NBA championship. Until he matures his game, in my opinion, he won't win an NBA championship. At least as a starter in this league, it really depends what you surround him with, but his style plays too immature to win a championship. That's just my humble opinion. Doesn't shoot great from beyond the arc. He plays really out of control. But getting a guy like Chris Paul, he plays with such a great pace, and in my opinion, he was not the reason the Clippers so-called choked in the playoffs. I just thought they were a 3 away from being a championship caliber team, because they had Chris Paul, they had JJ Redick. Yes, he was not the greatest defensive player, but they had Blake Griffin, they had DeAndre Jordan, but they always had like a solid to all right 3 of Luke Mamamute. But Doc Rivers was not great at making adjustments and that type of thing. But Chris Paul would have just made more sense. But then you bring in a guy, Russell Westbrook. His contract's going to take longer to get over. I believe his contract's not done until 2022 or 2023. But bringing a guy like Russell Westbrook would just make no sense. Then we'll probably be getting rid of a young player, of Mitchell Robinson. I don't care. Like, yes, the trade value won't be as high. They won't get as much in exchange, the Rockets, because when someone's demanding a trade, you try to, like, do what they ask and just try to get rid of them as fast as possible. But if it was like them on the low just wanting to trade him, like, they would probably get more in return. But because he's demanding a trade, is totally different. We'll see what happens with Harden. You know, the Sixers are interested in him. I just think that would be a very interesting situation. But I know a lot of players around the league are like, the Sixers don't have a well-run organization. The Knicks don't either, really. But hopefully that's going to change with the new front office. Dolan's actually stayed out of the way for once. But Westbrook is a player that's very athletic. He's a guy that's going to get his rebounds, the assists, the points, and everything. He'll be our leading scorer stepping in. But he's a guy that's, I believe, 34, 35 years old. And yes, Chris Paul's old, but we know what he brings to the table. He's a guy that's good in the pick and roll. He's good in mid-range territory. He shoots the basketball better. He's a guy that doesn't play out of control. He's a good playmaker. He's a winner. I'm not saying Westbrook isn't. But in those crucial parts of the game, like, do you want to get Westbrook? Because then if we get Westbrook, it's going to stunt the development of RJ Barrett. We won't get to see what does RJ Barrett do at the end of the game, because then we'll see Westbrook shoot the shots at the end of the game. And like, I don't know about you guys, but I want a point guard on a cheaper contract that we could develop. We brought in this new coaching staff that's known for developing talent, and we brought in this guy, Walt Perrin, who's good at drafting. So why not take advantage of that? And it'll just be the same old Knicks if we don't end up developing these guys. We end up just giving up on Mitch. Like, you know what? We'll be in the playoffs for like a couple years, and Westbrook will be out of his prime. Let's just go to the playoffs and seem competitive. But if the Knicks really want to build a good basketball team, they'll be patient. Hold on to Mitch. Hold on to RJ. Build throughout the draft. And yes, if like there's a superstar that wants to come here, until we have a stable organization and we have stability, then we won't get a star, and we have to prove we have a winning culture. But let RJ develop, let Mitch develop. Don't get rid of these young guys. See what you can get out of them with Tom Thibodeau. And if RJ looks disappointing, Mitch looks disappointing, Frank continues to develop, then maybe you can consider trading one of them. But I think it's way too early. Like, RJ's so young, Mitch is so young. Like, what's it gonna do getting Russell Westbrook? Like I said, you're gonna be a first round, second round exit because RJ hasn't proven to be anything big time yet. I think he will be a solid player, or like a good player at best in his NBA career. I don't think he's going to be like LeBron James or anything. I don't think he's going to be James Harden. People that are comparing him to James Harden is crazy. One of the greatest scorers to ever play the game, even though, of course, he has a very interesting style of play. He's very ball dominant as well. But what is getting Russell Westbrook really going to do for this organization? It's going to prove that we're rushing the process and we don't care about developing players anymore. Bringing in Chris Paul would make more sense. Like I said, he's a guy that people like, there's this whole narrative he's not a good teammate, but he's a reason Shea developed. He made players around him better. I don't believe Westbrook is that guy. And Chris Paul, like I said, is a better playmaker. He plays at a better pace than Westbrook. He shoot the ball. His contract's going to be over quicker, and he'll help out the upcoming point guard coming in. I'm just not a big fan of Westbrook if he comes here. That's my opinion. I'll support him because he's a Knick, but I just don't think it would be the right move. And I know a lot of casual NBA fans are going to be like, it's Russell Westbrook, though. But they don't look at the full picture and where the Knicks are at as a team. But if it was the Suns, it would be different. Because you could say they have a somewhat win-now mode team. They have Monty Williams. They have their coach. I really do believe he's their coach. You have Devin Booker, an all-star. DeAndre Ayton, he improved big time. And Westbrook, they need that point guard. And, of course, they're interested in Chris Paul, so it would make more sense. And they would probably have to get rid of a guy like Kelly Oubre. You know what Kelly Oubre is. I think he's a good player. He's not fantastic. But we'll see if they draft a point guard. If it's Tyrell Terry, Cole Anthony, we'll see what they do. Killian Hayes if he slips there. But let me know down below your thoughts and analysis. Do you want to trade for Russell Westbrook? I personally don't. You may call me crazy, be like, oh, he's a superstar and stuff like that. But honestly, I'd rather have Chris Paul. But I want to build throughout the draft and be patient. Develop these guys. See what this coaching staff could do. Because that's always been the problem. Rushing the process and not developing these guys properly. Kevin Knox, we don't know if he'll ever be anything big time, but at least see if you can get somewhat of a roll off of him, like if he's being a role player, if it's him being a role player. But thank you guys so much for watching. Smash the like button, click that subscribe button for more content, and as always, guys, have a humble day or night. And I apologize for the lighting. It's like really rainy outside, so there's not much natural lighting, and I may be too bright because I literally have like my lights over me right now, but I've been trying to get better lighting and that type of thing. But thank you guys so much amount of support. This channel's not possible without you guys. And as always, guys, have a humble day or night. Peace out, y'all.